to the 2021 Lane Flicks October Horror Fest.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Kirk from Lane Flicks Media. I'm here again at Camp Kill. We've done a couple movies so far. I'm going to be concluding the Evil Dead Trilogy today. And yeah, so thank you guys for joining me. We're just going to jump right into it. What did you guys think of the movie? Army of Darkness is a 1993 horror action comedy film with starring Bruce Campbell, directed by Sam Raimi, co-written by Sam Raimi and his brother Ivan. And it's the conclusion to the Evil Dead Trilogy. It has a really great, fantastical opening. The animation and just the crazy visuals they give you for the opening of the movie, it's pretty cool. We get some really awesome like fantasy costumes that are pre-Lord of the Rings, and they're not like Excalibur quality, but they're pretty good. There's some subversions on some of the stuff that we expect to see from the first two Evil Dead movies, so that's pretty clever. And then after Ash has been assigned his mission, we get the mini Ashes, and on Blu-ray they actually look pretty bad, and it's like super easy to tell the 5 other guys that are there that aren't Bruce Campbell. So yeah, they were smart with the way they shot it. They kept Bruce Campbell in front of the other actors and stuff, but there's a part where he goes to a windmill on the way to getting the Necronomicon. There's just like a bunch of little hymns that come out of nowhere. And yeah, of course they didn't have 6 Bruce Campbells, and you didn't have the technology back then to duplicate him digitally. So they just kind of went with like using other actors that kind of looked like him. And there's a couple that aren't bad. Like there's a couple that look like a version of Bruce Campbell, but some of them are just like, oh, that's not him. So that was pretty noticeable in Blu-ray high definition. Then we get the Evil Ash. And then we repeat a lot of the stuff from the previous 2 movies. Just a lot of the imagery of like having things in this enclosed building attacking Ash and stuff like that. There's a lot of, not repeats, but I guess like visual consistency for, you know, the 3 movies. Now the windmill he goes into is really cool because I'm assuming it's a reference to Frankenstein and how a lot of the Frankenstein like takes on Frankenstein, they end with the, you know, Frankenstein on the top of the windmill being burned down. And it's been in a lot of other like horror movie history stuff, so I think it's probably just an homage thing that Sam Raimi wanted to do, so it's pretty cool. So then he finally gets to the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, and he it's cool because the comedy style hasn't changed that much. It's just the quality of the filmmaking has changed and improved, obviously. But it's great that Ash gets there, and the wizard from the town who helped send him on the quest, he told him he had to say 3 words. And Ash can remember the first 2, but not the 3rd one. So he's like saying the words, and then when he gets to the 3rd one, he's like, and like, it's just a funny Ash thing. Like, it's so in line with his character, and it makes sense that he is like begrudged by this curse, and he is like annoyed at the fact that he has to fix it, and that sets up the whole character for the show, Ash vs. Evil Dead, because that's like all he is in the show. So it's pretty well done. It's pretty funny. Back at the castle, when Ash finally gets the Necronomicon back, people start losing faith in him a little bit because he shows his selfishness, and he kind of is like, yeah, I got you guys the book. I don't care if you can, fix your problem or not, but I need to go back home. And so it's just like, it's awful. It's like, how can you be like that? But it's also like, yeah, it makes sense. Like for him, it makes sense. So then this girl who likes Ash now in the medieval times, you don't really get the sense that she's in love with him, but you can tell she's into him, I guess, just because he's different and he's not from around those parts. So yeah, then Evil Ash gets Ash's girl and turns her, and so she's like this creepy, like, Bride of Dracula looking makeup now, so that's pretty cool. Evil Ash and the Army of Darkness begin their march on this little town to get the Necronomicon. Meanwhile, Ash trains the townsfolk in combat and kind of teaches them a little bit about fighting the Evil Dead. Evil Ash looks amazing. He's really gross, and his whole face looks like the front of the Book of the Dead, like it's all like tattered and scarred and like melting, and it's just great. And he has these like he has like a terrible underbite, so his teeth look really gross and his eyes are all yellow and red. It's really, really well done. They really went all out on making him look really creepy. It's really funny right here. There's just a little half a second where there's this skeleton running along in the final battle. He's on fire, and so he's screaming and screaming, and then someone cuts his head off, and as soon as his head's cut off, he doesn't scream anymore. And then Evil Ash, he keeps trying to say, I think he's saying charge or something like that, but he keeps trying to say something and his jaw keeps falling out of place, and then you have to fix it, and you try to say it again, and it happened like 3 times, and then he was just like, and it was like an old Looney Tunes gag. That's just what it reminded me of. It was really funny. And then Ash's murder car is great. He changes the Delta into a war machine, essentially, and he has like giant blades on the front. He's got like, I think he's got a mount for a shotgun out the door. Like, it's great. It makes no sense that his car would be working fine because it dropped like hundreds of feet, but it's fine. This is crazy. I never noticed this before watching it this time, but there's a reference to Monty Python because the arrow effect, where there's an arrow shot and it hits something and then kind of like reverberates, that sound effect is in Monty Python whenever whenever Lancelot's squire gets shot, and then he's like, oh, I'll be alright. This is an old fantasy comedy that you're referencing in this movie, and it's just cool because, like, I don't know, it's not something you would expect from the third Evil Dead movie. Like, they are funny, but they're not outright goofy like that all the time, so I thought that was a cool reference. This movie had to be an influence on Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies, regardless of like tone, but the costumes and the scale and the whole idea of like the end of this movie, to me, reminded me a lot of Two Towers and the whole Helm's Deep battle sequence in that. Obviously much better and more seriously done in Two Towers, but just the visuals kind of reminded me of each other. So then we get Ash, and he's fighting Evil Ash and a Deadite with both hands running up and down these stairs. It's really cool. It reminded me a lot of like Princess Bride or like old swashbuckle kind of movies. I never understood that in Spider-Man, the very first one that Sam Raimi directed with Tobey Maguire, when he's trying to figure out his webs and he finally gets a web and he swings and he says tally-ho. It's a reference to old serials and stuff. It's something I used to say, but Ash says it in this too when he swings on the rope. So I just thought I was like, wow, that's really cool that he tied Spider-Man to Army of Darkness. That's just awesome. Yeah, Evil Ash with no skin after he's been I think they flamethrower him or something. They light him on fire. And after he has like no skin on his face, he's just haunting looking, like he looks awful. Scary. And then Evil Ash, he gets on top of the catapult that Ash is on, about to attack him. And then Ash cuts a rope and grabs the Necronomicon from Evil Ash, and then he gets thrown up into the sky and blows up in a fireball. It's amazing. The only moment of subtlety in the whole movie is when the girl or lady, she's laying on the ground and her skin turns from like pale white to a kind of rosy color again. And it's done very subtly, and it's only if you're like staring at her, like in that shot. But you get it. And it's like I said, it's a nice subtle effect. It's not overstated, which was nice. We get a really great, very Evil Dead ending where we pretty much pick up where the Ash vs. Evil Dead show, or we pretty much drop off where the show picks up. And yeah, and then we get the Hail to the King, and I think that's the first time we've heard that in the movies, so that's like the introduction to that line, but Ash is known for that line, so they set up a lot of what we know Ash as in this movie. So it's kind of like a Friday the 13th situation where it took him a little while to kind of become the character, but once he's the character, it's like, this is great. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate you stopping by again. If you like the Evil Dead movies, if you enjoy any of the like weird, creepy stuff that is in those movies, definitely check out Army of Darkness. It's the conclusion to the trilogy. It's pretty much the bridge between Evil Dead and Ash vs. Evil Dead. So once you watch this movie and then you jump into the show, it's like seamless. It's perfect. And yeah, it's just a fun, entertaining movie. So please check it out. I believe it's streaming on Peacock right now, but there's a couple other places I think you can find it. But it's also on Blu-ray and DVD and VHS if you have a VCR. So thanks again, guys, and next time we'll be doing either Lights Out or Ernest Scared Stupid. So stay tuned.